Hello, I'm Margaret Finnegan, author of the middle grade novels We Could Be Heroes and SUSIE B Won't Back Down. I'm coming to you live today from Los Angeles, where I am joined by the path-breaking, remarkable, inspirational women's rights advocate, Susan B. Anthony. Susan.
Hello. Hello, world. I'm so happy to be here.
And we are so glad that you are here. But I do have a question. How are you here? You died in 1906.
As long as there are injustices to fight, I will be there. I'm like the wind and Ninja Turtles.
I think that is great. And I do have some good news for you. You spent much of your long life advocating for voting rights for women. And in 1920, the United States passed a constitutional amendment granting women that right. So your work was not in vain. Yes, yes.
But you know, it's called the Susan B. Anthony Amendment after me. And there's a $1 coin. And they also created this doll, which is called a Barbie.
It looks just like you. And you know what? You deserve it because you're an inspiration.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mrs. Finnegan. So tell me, what injustice do you need me to tackle today?
Well, good news, it's not an injustice. I think what called your spirit to us here today was my new book, SUSIE B Won't Back Down.
A book?
Mm-hmm.
And it's about me? I love it.
Well, it's actually about a girl who writes a series of letters to you as part of a project on heroes.
And I'm her hero?
You are her hero.
Read me some.
Really? Okay, well, you know what? Why don't I start where she explains why she chose you as her hero?
That sounds lovely.
Okay. One of the main things we have to do for the Hero Project is write our heroes letters, and that is what I am doing. Since this is our first letter, we are supposed to tell you a little bit about ourselves. So hello, I am a Susan B too. My B stands for Babuskowitz. Don't freak out. It's easier to pronounce than it looks. Babuskowitz. Hear how it rolls off the tongue? It's actually kind of pretty, don't you think? It sounds like something a bird might sing or that a Tupperware might burp. Unfortunately, most people, especially teachers, don't seem to agree on the beauty of my last name. They see a word like Babuskowitz on the first day of class and their eyes get kind of squinty and their voices get kind of stuck in their throats. And after a pause, they say, Susan? Sometimes it ends there. When I started my tap dancing class, for example, my teacher did the old squint, throat suck, pause, Susan? And I did the old, you can call me Susie. And we both sort of pretended I was one of those Beyonce type celebrities who have only one name. But that is not what happens here at Mary Rout Elementary School in the beautiful town of Claremont, California. That is because there is another Susan in 5th grade, Susan Gupta. She goes by Susie too, but she is original and hip and spells her name Soozee, which I wish I had thought of doing first, but those are the breaks. This is the first year that Susie and I haven't been in the same class. And so until this year, teachers would always look at me, Susie Babuskowitz, with my regular boring clothes and my goofy cowlick right in front of my boring, not blonde, not brown hair. And then they would look at Susie Gupta with her interesting French braids and her fun, hip outfits that often involved cool hats and sometimes even scarves. And they would give her the glorious name Susie and me the name SUSIE B. As a person who cared about equality, I bet that this upsets you. I bet you're thinking, hold the phone. Why should she be playing Susie and not you? Why should you be stuck with an initial tap to the back of your boringly spelled first name? If anything, you should be playing Susie because B comes before G in the alphabet. It makes sense that the first person on the roll sheet should get dibs on being called by just their first name. I hear you, Susan B. Anthony. And there was a time when I used to feel the same way, which is maybe why I keep my distance from Susie Gupta, even though she's a pretty nice person who I have no other complaints about. But then something happened, and I learned to really like being called Susie B. You're going to like this story, Susan B. Anthony. It's good. It all happened back in second grade when I was in reading lab. Now, seeing that you lived from 1820 to 1906, which is an important fact that I am supposed to include in this letter, you are probably asking yourself, holy moly, what in the world is Reading Lab? Reading Lab is this place kids go if they need extra help with reading, except that it is not really a lab. It is just a little bitty room next to the library with lots of posters of kittens hanging onto branches and file folders full of short readings that are supposed to help you read better. I was in Reading Lab until the end of third grade. This is nothing to be ashamed of, by the way. And if people tell you otherwise, you are allowed to give them a good stink eye and tell them to park their prejudice at the door. Some brains just need more help with reading than others. I needed help because my brain is easily distracted by, wait, is that a butterfly? There wasn't really a butterfly. I was just trying to give you a sense of how easily my brain can get off course when it is not interested in something, but I'm interested in this. So don't worry. Writing and reading are things I can do forever and ever because I love them so much. It was the learning them that I didn't like because what the heck? English does not make any sense at all. What kind of language, for example, has one way to pronounce three entirely different words like P-A-I-R, P-A-R-E, and P-E-A-R? Honestly, I'm still not sure which one is which. Luckily for me, once my is that a butterfly brain was finally able to get past all that boring stuff, I was able to catch up. Now, I can read as good as anyone, but I'm still a terrible speller. Confession. Only last year did I finally remember how to spell my own last name. Then again, I think it might take anyone a long time to remember how to spell babuskowitz, because there are a crazy lot of consonants in there. It is because I'm such a terrible speller that I get to write my letters to you on a tablet and use spell check. Other kids can write their letters on tablets too. Everyone in our class get ones, but for me, it is an actual right. It's what you call an accommodation on account of my butterfly brain. Accommodations help make things fair for everybody, which brings me back to Reading Lab and how I learned to love being called Susie B. Don't drift off, Susan B. Anthony, I promise. You'll like this. Anyway, it was one of my very first days of Reading Lab. I was there with Carson, who still goes to Reading Lab because he is a work in progress like the rest of us. The reading specialist pointed us toward this one particular file cabinet and told us to pick a reading that looked interesting. I was flipping through all these different readings when I saw one called Susan B. Fights On. I still remember the name because I was thinking, gosh, is this about me? Did the reading specialist hide this here for me to find? Is it a present? Did she make one for all of us, each with our own name on it? Is it supposed to make us feel better about going to Reading Lab, even though we shouldn't feel bad about going in the first place? And most importantly, what the heck am I fighting on about this time? I told all that to Carson. His eyes were like, boing, I want one too. But his brain is even more butterflyish than mine. So he started flipping through all the files and trying to find one with his name on it. He climbed right onto a chair so he could pull files down from the high cupboard. When the reading specialist found it, she said, For heaven's sake. That was a real favorite phrase of hers. She asked us what we were doing, and I explained right away. Then she admitted that she had not been cool enough to make us each our own special readings, but that I still might write Susan B. Fights On, since it was about a very interesting woman named, wait for it, Susan B. Anthony. Thank you. Now, don't get mad, but at first I was a little bummed. I liked believing that the reading specialist had done all this work to figure out who I was and how I like to fight on about things. It made me feel special. And since I have always suspected that I'm actually a little bit fabulous, that was pretty cool. But my disappointment passed quickly because I realized the reading specialist was right. You were very interesting, Susan B. Anthony. When most of the women of your time were focused on getting married, having kids, you were all, how in the world can we say we fought a revolution over taxation without representation and then deny women the right to vote? How can we harp on about freedom and liberty and then say to women, no freedom or liberty for you? I will not accept this. I will spend my life fighting for women's rights, and I will not give up until every woman in this land has the same chance to vote as your common garden variety man. Finished the reading, I was blown away. I learned something important. I learned that being a Susie B wasn't something to be annoyed by. It was something to be proud of. Being a Susie B meant being a Susan B. Anthony, a fighter of good fights. And who wouldn't want to be that? So this year, when Mr. Springer read roll for the first time, and he did the old Susan, Susan? I told him, hey, Mr. Springer, just call me Susie B. Everybody else does. It's fine with me. And he was all, okay, Susie B. See, I told you you would like that story.
I love that so much. It's like Susie B really gets me, you know? I do like a good fight.
Yes, you are so famous for being persistent and determined. And you know what? You really do deserve that Barbie. Hello. Oh my gosh. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe it. Here we are joined by the famous woman suffragist, Elizabeth Patty Stanton.
Okay, all right. Well, what about me? Where's my Barbie?
I just knew you couldn't let me have this one good thing.
What are you talking about? I'm here to support you.
Oh, right. Like you supported me by letting me babysit your many children so you could go off and write.
You loved my children.
Hold on. Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Patty Stanton, I've read a lot of books. You guys are supposed to be best friends.
We were very good friends. We did so many things together.
We started a newspaper.
We started a suffrage organization.
Well, I think that is what you need to remember. And I have a question for you. Okay, my question is, since you did all of those things, what advice would you give to people who are trying to be like you and trying to stand up for ideas that other people think are ridiculous, but you know in your heart is right?
I always say failure is impossible.
Failure is impossible. She always says that.
Well, I think that is really good. And do you have any other final words before we turn it over to our Q&A?
Oh, yes, we do. We do. Well, you know, we were very good friends and we worked together very well. In fact, we were a very good team. Wouldn't you say?
I would say that. And you are a wonderful, wonderful planner and thinker, a great thinker.
That's right. And you know, we could get on each other's nerves sometimes. But in the end, we were there for each other. We believed in each other.
It's true. It's true.
Well, I think that's great. And yes.
And you know, because I learned as
Yes.
Susan B. Anthony in my many years of citing that people won't always agree with you.
It's true.
They will make fun of you. They will throw things at you. They will make fun of your clothes. They will refuse to teach you long division. They will even put you in prison for exercising your right to vote. All of these things totally happened to me, by the way.
She is such a badass.
You really are a badass, Susan B. Anthony, and you too, Elizabeth Caddy Stanton.
Yes.
So what I'd like to do right now is see if we have any questions at home, or if you have any questions from our audience. And I see a question here from Stacy, and the question is, what do you think about the world we are living in today?
I do like a good fight. Did I say that before? I do like a good fight.
You did say that. And you know, I admire that Hillary Rodham Clinton. I like her. I like her.
Yes.
Does she have a doll like this? Does she
I
have
don't
a
think she
Barbie?
has a doll
Sure.
like that. I
She
think
should
you
definitely
only
have one
Barbie.
after I get mine.
Well,
Of course.
how about from our live audience? Any questions here? Yes.
I actually have a question for you, Margaret.
Okay.
It's related to that.
Okay.
In the book, Susie B. Won't Back Down, does she have a friend like Susan B. Anthony did? Does
That-
she have someone
okay.
that she can fight with?
So just in case our audience that isn't here couldn't hear you, the question is, does Susie B. in the book, Susie B. Won't Back Down, does she have a friend? Kind of like Susan B. Anthony has Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And actually she does. She has a very good friend named Jocelyn. And part of the struggle of the book is, you know, navigating that friendship, especially when their goals start to move in maybe different directions. That's a great question. Okay. I see another question from our panelists online. And the question is, Susan B. Anthony, what advice would you give to women who, or girls, I will add that part, or girls who want to make a change in the world? And let's open that over to Elizabeth Cady Stanton too.
Well, I do think teamwork is important.
You guys
Oh,
proved
We
that.
made a very
Yes.
good team.
Yes,
did.
yes,
Yes.
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 Just whatever it is you're passionate about, fight for it.
It's very important. You know, I like to say that you must take the long view. You must take the long view. I died before my goal was achieved, but it did happen.
It's true, and not actually that much later than you died. So, and I'm glad you're here to see all the ways that you're still remembered, including Barbie. Maybe one more question from our audience, and then we'll close it up for today. Yes.
I would like to ask each of your guests what inspired them in the work.
Okay.
I believe Margaret will go first.
Okay.
Mrs. Finnegan will go.
Oh, Mrs.
Okay. Well, I will say what inspired me was for this particular book is it's really important to me in books for young readers that we see students who have some sort of neurodivergence, whose maybe brains don't work in typical ways, but work in really good and interesting ways. And so Susie B's butterfly brain is part of that. I really wanted to showcase her experience. And I also kind of felt like I see so many kids who I feel are not seen in their schools and in their society, maybe because they're not the smartest, or they're not the kid who gets the best grade, or the kid who's the best athlete. And I feel like sometimes it can be hard to be that kid because you feel like everyone's getting all the attention and all the glory but you. And Susie B certainly feels that way. So part of it is her coming to terms with what it means to how to find your voice when maybe people don't always appreciate your voice. It seems like people aren't appreciating your voice.
I like that question very much, young lady. And I would say that, you know, I'm sorry if I was a little bit snappy earlier, but it's been a stressful 100 years of being dead.
Oh, I understand. And I do have to say, I was a little bit jealous, you know.
I mean, I've seen war and prejudice and injustice and the return of shapewear, you know. And I just feel that women that we know, they're very intelligent, they're very smart, they can learn long division, and I just feel that they need their rights like all humans, and that's what motivates me to keep fighting.
I'm more of a writer than a public speaker, but I just say if you see something that you don't think is fair, like women who are very intelligent and certainly can run a household, have 7 children, and balance it all, I think it's just not fair that they don't get to vote. So if you see something that's not fair, you just start working on it with your friends and get to it.
And we like to say, failure is impossible.
Failure is
impossible.
impossible. I think that is a great place for us to stop. Thank you, Susan B. Anthony.
Thank you,
Thank
Mrs.
you,
Finnegan.
Elizabeth Caddy Stanton. Read SUSIE B Won't Back Down. It's available everywhere from SimonKids. I'm Margaret Finnegan. Thank you for coming. Goodbye.